I have had a lot of arguments thrown at me. I'd say 12 to 15 explanations about why God permits this evil. And if one believes in God, I can sort of begin to understand each one. But here's my problem. That God to me would have been a God that created the evil, and that any maneuvering by philosophers, theologians to say that God permitted the evil or didn't really create it or allowed it, to me is a distinction without a difference. That if you're going to have a consistent argument that God is real and there is evil in the world, you should come flat out and say that God created that evil. Do you agree with that?
No, I guess I'm going to agree with the theist here. I mean, in the case of natural evil, I agree 100% with you, okay, right? By creating a world where there are hurricanes, tornadoes, and so forth and so on, you create natural evils, in fact.
Animals eating each other.
That's right, yeah, exactly, right. And all that could have been avoided, right? You could have had, animals that are herbivores and so on, right? But in the case of moral evil, I want to say that the error that God has made, in fact, is to give human beings too much power, basically. I mean, power to seriously injure one another and so on.
But wouldn't God have known that in advance? And just
yes.
So then why, if he knew it in advance, are you making such a fine distinction between God allowing the evil because he created free will and God then creating the evil as part of some overall purpose?
Well, the theist wants to say, that humans have a certain sort of free will, okay, right? And that free will made it possible, in fact, for there to be a world where there was never any moral evil, right? And so God could have created the world as he did.
But he didn't think that.
No, he certainly thought to have known how things are going to turn out, right? Okay, so that's an interesting argument, right? That is that if you know how things are going to turn out, right? But I mean, I think that if you have an idea of free will, you shouldn't think that God knows how things are going to turn out, okay, right? And so I'd reject that part of the theistic doctrine.
Well, it's nice to see you defending theism, by the way. But wait a minute. If there are billions of people and billions or thousands of opportunities for each of these billions of people to make an individual choice, statistically, you would think that evil would begin to occur sometime. So it is probabilistically virtually certain that evil and lots of evil would occur. So to me, it is a complete cop-out to say God didn't create evil. Come on.
I think I'm losing the argument at this point right now. I think I agree that, there is that statistical argument, which is very important. Huge number of people, right, highly probable you're going to have evil. That's absolutely
highly
right.
probable is a low estimate, I would think. So then if the argument is that therefore God knew virtually certain that a lot of evil would occur, then evil was built into this creation that he made. So that if you're going to have a consistent argument to say that there is a God and there is evil in the world, you have to say that God created that evil, and therefore the theist would have to come up with a reason why God created that evil, and you would come to the other view and say that, okay, those two are inconsistent, so the probability of that God existing is low.
Well, the theist would say that, if you get a fair number of good actions, okay, freely done, right, that getting a fair number of bad actions freely done is a price that's not too high to pay, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that, but that would be the theist response.